when I performed as a member of the last Paul Bley trio in the Bayerischerhof in Munich. Paul basically played Rhodes and Wurlitzer all night long, something that he hadn't done in nearly 30 years. And he also had a little synthesizer, and intermittently he'd play kind of pad chords and some motifs and patterns. And that's quite significant because Paul Bley and his wife Annette Peacock in all probability performed the first synthesizer concert under the inducement of Annette Peacock. Paul Bley got interested in synthesizer music and managed to procure one of the prototype synthesizers from Bob Moog. And with that, they formed a band. And one of the bands that they had was a trio with a chap called Han Bennick, brilliant drummer from the Netherlands. I've actually performed with Han Bennick and recorded my album Television, which is a fantastic album, on Isla Records with him. And slightly after, Annette Peacock recorded the seminal On the One album. And that album again featured Paul Bley, but also featured a drummer called Barry Altschul. And between kind of 1969 and kind of 1972, Barry Altschul was one of the most in-demand drummers in the world. And On the One, and the working hypothesis here is that Angie Bowie, who, when I was in Los Angeles at Musicians Institute, I played in a band with a bass player whose father went out with Angie Bowie. So there's a bit of an overlap there also. And it's believed that Angie Bowie introduced On the One to David Bowie, and David Bowie became absolutely infatuated by On the One, to the extent that he called Annette Peacock and asked her to join his band, and also asked her to be on the Aladdin album. She politely demurred, but the Aladdin album produced classic hits like Jean Genie, which was a hit for him all over the world, but also Cracked Actor. And Cracked Actor was a kind of yielded a dividend for him when he exited the Ziggy Stardust persona, because he was able to use Cracked Actor as a transitional element into the next phase. But also, slightly later, Annette Peacock actually recorded an album called X-Dreams. And X-Dreams basically features Bill Bruford, inter alia, on drums. So I actually had the privilege of playing in a trio with Bill Bruford when he was at the top of his game. Best drummer in the world, absolutely amazing man. And slightly after that, Annette Peacock was commissioned by Manfred Eicher of ECM Records to produce an album to compose an album. And the album penultimately featured the Cikada string quartet. So Annette composed the music, and Cikada string quartet basically performed the music on the album for her. And when I performed my string quartet at the Up North Festival, I performed it with the Cikada string quartet. So I basically composed the string quartet, and string quartet and electric guitar, and the string quartet was performed by Cikada string quartet from Oslo. I performed the guitar. Some of that was actually played on, I think actually my concert was played on Danish national radio as well. But Annette Peacock is an incredible musician, highly influential, and to the extent that slightly later, David Bowie actually recorded a song called Something in the Air later on in his career, and basically utilised some of the elements from On the One in Something in the Air. So Annette Peacock along with Paul Bley, her husband at the time, created some amazing music, but she went on to subsequently produce some fantastic pieces of music and is an incredible musician and composer in her own right. Thank you very much for listening.